I am so sad when I see women working so hard to lose weight, to feel better, showing up, making all these huge changes in their life just to see the weight come back on. Like, I know how hard it is to lose weight. It is not easy. And the older we get, the harder it is. And so today, my goal is to share with you guys, what is the missing piece? The missing piece, why do 99% of diets fail? Why do people go and lose the weight and gain it back and gain even more weight? What is the reasoning behind it? What are we going to do to avoid this happening? How can I help other people learn what I learned after so many years of fluctuating in weight, up and down, up and down? How can I teach other people what I know? Hey YouTube, it's Bree here. I'm a mom of 5 and a personal trainer. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm excited today to dive into a topic that I think is just truly so incredibly important, and that is sustaining our weight loss. Now, I know what it feels like to bounce up and down on the scale for years, and I'm not talking like 2 years, I'm talking like 15 years. I fluctuated in weight. Yes, I had 5 babies in that time, but also during that time, I struggled with binge eating. So what would happen would be I would do really great for the first couple of weeks. And then as things would kind of get harder and more difficult, I'd be craving all these things. And eventually I would binge, and the patterns just got ingrained in my brain and they took over for so many years. It took me a long time to get out of that pattern. And then I started to ask myself the question, why? Why can't we just lose weight as a society, feel better, and keep the weight off? Why is it always this rebound weight or regain? And I think I have some of the reasoning behind it today. I want to talk first of all about why diets even work. I'm pretty sure I've tried every single diet under the sun. Like, there is no diet I have not tried. And if you have one that I don't name in this list, you got to tell me. I have done paleo, keto, Atkins, the banana diet. That was like 32 bananas a day. The potato diet, that was like all potatoes, but you were allowed ketchup. So basically French fries with no oil for like an extended amount of time. The cabbage soup diet, now that was a personal favorite for sure. 1 meal a day diet, intermittent fasting diet, Weight Watchers, plant-based diet, raw vegan diet, the slim fast diet. That one brings me way back. The smoothie diet, my personal favorite, the extreme low calorie diet, followed by the establishment of binge eating on weekends. One thing all of these diets have in common is, well, they put you in a calorie deficit. And we are always looking for the next right diet. What one's going to work the fastest? What one's going to make me get to eat the most delicious food? Which one's going to make me have enough energy? How am I going to be able to have treats and lose weight at the same time? Which one's easiest to think about? Which one's going to put less stress on my brain? We have all these things in our head that we think we are going to find when we find the right diet deficit. Cabbage soup diet, for example. Who even wants to eat that much cabbage soup? Cabbage soup, there's absolutely no doubt about it that when you decide that you're only going to eat cabbage soup, that you would be in a calorie deficit, because cabbage soup is not even good. And maybe it is good when you're having it like with cheese and deliciousness and dipping bread in it on a Saturday when it's snowing, but it's not good in the way that they make it. It's not good when you have it 7 bowls a day just to keep you from feeling gross all the time. So no, you are not eating the same amount of calories as you were before you started the cabbage soup diet. The same goes with paleo. How much fats do you really want to consume? When you start paleo, all of a sudden you're taking away a huge food group, carbohydrates, which yes, will make you lose water weight pretty quickly, but you're probably going to lose weight because you are getting rid of all those other things that you might have been eating before, like processed foods and sugar. Weight Watchers is exactly the same thing as calorie counting, except for they call it points instead of calories. The banana diet of all the diets is the most incredibly unique and interesting one, in my opinion, because I think that at some point you'd just be like, I can't eat another banana today. And yeah, you will be in a calorie deficit. So, yes, all diets do the same thing. They have the same intention, yet we go searching and searching and searching to find the right one. And then we do the one, we find success. We think it's that particular diet that's working, or we think that something magical is happening in our body when we eat just bananas. I don't know. But eventually we stop because nobody wants to eat bananas or potatoes or anything like that for the rest of their lives. And that's not sustainable. And so then we end up gaining weight back. So let's begin with macros. Say you're here, you're starting, you're super excited to start tracking your food. You're going to get back on track. You've got that beginning of your diet, adrenaline going. It's all going to be good. You found the next right thing. So you start tracking your macros. You've been given a number or you found a number online that works for you, and you start tracking. Things are going really well and they're going really smoothly, and you like that you're able to eat kind of whatever you can fit in your macros and still enjoy foods that you love and see results. As time goes on, you're noticing you're losing weight, you have good results, you have energy because you're not just focusing on eating only vegetables or anything extreme like that. You're actually balancing your meals. And I love that. I love tracking macros for people who need it. And I think that it's really beneficial for those who especially undereat when they're going into a calorie deficit. Now, what happens when you're done? What happens when you're done tracking macros and you've decided that you would like to go back to mindfully eating? This is where we mess it up every single time. Someone loses weight and they decide, okay, I've made it to my goal and now I need to go back to mindfully eating because tracking's driving me insane. It's too meticulous, and so on and so on. So what happens is we just go right back to not counting. We try to eat the same, but we of course let ourselves have this and that because we're not in a calorie deficit anymore. We're not trying to lose any weight anymore. And then we end up regaining weight and we wonder why. There's a couple of reasons why this happens. First of all, when you go into a calorie deficit, and it is a long enough deficit to see real results, likely between 8 and 12 weeks. Once you've gotten through that 8 to 12 week mark and you've seen your results, your metabolism has adapted to your new calorie point. So what that means is your metabolism is a little bit slower than it was before you started. Now, this is not permanent. And so I would like to make sure that my clients know that there's no such thing as permanent metabolism damage from doing a short-term healthy calorie deficit. Yes, your body is going to slow down, it is going to burn less and try to conserve energy to keep you safe. But it's actually a natural consequence of being in a calorie deficit, and it's not dangerous so long as you're doing it appropriately. Now, when our metabolism slows down and we abruptly stop tracking, we end up accidentally overshooting the calories that we add in when we stop tracking. So all of a sudden, we're eating more than we were before on top of having a slow metabolism. So what's the answer to this? The real answer, you guys, is to not abruptly stop tracking your macros. When you decide it is time for you to stop tracking your macros, extend your tracking for at least 4 weeks and slowly ease into mindful eating instead of just abruptly going from one to the next. So what that would look like is you are done your cut. You would bump up your calories by a couple of hundred going into a reverse diet so we can see what happens to your body when you add in calories. And so you add in 100 or 200 depending on your comfort level as the weeks go on, and you see what happens in your body. You're still eating high protein. You're still tracking your food. You're still being mindful, and you're also becoming more aware of what hunger and fullness feels like when you're in maintenance. When you are in a calorie deficit, you are going to feel a little bit hungry, and that is normal. It's also not something that's an emergency and not something to be afraid of. But when you come out of the calorie deficit, your hunger hormones are going to be quite high. And they are going to try and get you to eat more than your body really needs because that's what our bodies do to keep us safe. So during this transition time, when you're going from your calorie cut to your maintenance and you're slowly stair-stepping your way up there, it's really important that you keep tracking, that you start to feel what it is like to be in maintenance. You're going to notice some amazing things. Your energy levels are going to increase. You're going to sleep better. You're going to have amazing workouts, especially if you were lifting heavy. You are going to see a major increase in the amount that you can lift. You're going to feel amazing. You're going to be more energetic and happier all around. So keep with it, but don't quit tracking. Tracking is how you got into the place that you were wanting to go. It's how you lost the weight. And so when you just abruptly stop, you're kind of tricking your brain into a sense of we're going back to the way we were before. And by stair-stepping our way there and waiting in that period until our hunger hormones are a little bit more balanced, then we are able to slowly move into mindfully eating. What that personally looks like for me when I'm done a cut is I end up tracking for breakfast and lunch, and then as I get into dinner time, I mindfully eat my dinner. I know what it looks like to have a certain serving of protein, but the problem is when we go into maintenance, we actually get to eat more food. So if we don't actually practice what that looks like in our macro tracking, it's going to be really, really hard for us to know how to mindfully eat when we're at maintenance. A lot of the time, what happens when we finish our diet is we are so tired of being in a calorie deficit, of being in a cut, of trying to lose weight, that we end up swinging a little bit further on the other end of the spectrum. We don't want to think about food anymore. We don't want to have to be mindful. We just want to eat the dang donut. But if you had had an experience with macro counting where you incorporated your favorite foods every single day, there would be a much lesser chance that at the end of your cut, you would feel like you needed to go back to all the foods that you missed beforehand. When I'm talking with clients, I recommend that we add in their favorite weekly treats into their macro counts so that they can feel normal. We don't want our brain freaking out with this idea that we're in a calorie deficit. It's already hard enough. So how long do we reverse diet? How long do we have to track for? I know you're asking the question because everybody does. We don't want to be tracking for the rest of our life. That just seems so meticulous and it doesn't feel like living. So what I recommend is however long it takes for you is however long it takes. Some people are really afraid to stop tracking. Sometimes it's really scary. And I went through a season of life where I abruptly stopped tracking to heal my relationship with food. And I kind of regret the way that I came about doing it. I feel like it would have been a better approach for me to slowly progress myself into that because the fear of gaining a lot of weight can be really, really strong for women. So take your time, get your calories back up to maintenance. You can monitor your progress, see where you're sitting at a comfortable calorie level, and then move into mindful eating. Now, you probably had figured out a few of your favorite meals while you were in your calorie deficit. And without eating delicious foods during a calorie cut, there is no way that you're going to be able to sustain your weight loss afterwards. When we take away all the things that are delicious, we are not only hungry because we're in a calorie deficit, but we're also really unsatisfied. We miss the joy that food brings. Sugary foods, they increase our dopamine levels. They give us this like little fake high. And when we take it all away and we change everything completely without incorporating some of our old lifestyle, it's really easy to regain the weight afterwards. It's exhausting thinking about food, but I promise you that if you can take this small step and actually gradually move yourself out of that calorie deficit into maintenance until your body has a more stable hunger level, you will do that much better with your maintaining your weight. Just my last video on the whoosh effect, head right here as it's super interesting information about how our body can hold on to weight until finally it feels safe enough to let it all go. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm so incredibly honored that you've been part of my channel. Please hit the subscribe button and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.